My name is Erik Lönroth, and I am the founder and CTO of a company named Dwellir. And yeah, I'm gonna try to teach you a bit about the financial infrastructure of the new world today, a bit about blockchains and Bitcoin, and all stuff that maybe are going to make you very, very rich or very, very poor. And nothing I say here is financial advice. Anyway, so who am I? Apart from that, I'm kind of a freedom lover, just generally, roaming about, passionate about open source. I've been in the computer industry for, well, since I stopped playing games, maybe, I don't know, at least 20 years. I've been working as the high performance computing tech lead at a big truck company named Scania for 15 years, where I helped build up the industry that maybe some of you here are accustomed to, before I left the company to pursue new adventures within the blockchain industry. But so you're not here to hear a lot about me. Instead, you want to hear what Dwellir is doing, right? So Dwellir is a infrastructure provider within the blockchain industry, and we provide services that basically let people on and off board onto various of blockchains. And we're a privacy-oriented blockchain company as well. We try to be private in a way, not in the sense that we keep things secret. Is this still hearing? Yeah. But in the sense that we try to preserve users' privacy. And that is really difficult in the world we live in today, but we try our best to do so. So yeah, I will try to teach you a lot more about like blockchains and some of the stuff that the modern blockchains. But in the end, I'm also going to talk why are we using the stuff that Canonical and Ubuntu are doing within our industry and why that has been successful. So that's what I hope that you will learn today. Okay, of course, half of my presentation is like ChatGPT generated. What's really helpful. So like, what is a blockchain? And oh, this is really tricky. I get this question a lot, and you never know who you're talking to, right? So some people are actually super knowledgeable of what a blockchain is, but most just talk about it, but they really don't know. So I'm not going to try to go technical on you here, but instead I'm going to try to talk about it from like more of a philosophical perspective, which is basically one thing that a blockchain brings to a piece of technology is a very valuable thing, which is called trust. And trust is super difficult to talk about even. So I'm just going to leave it at the philosophical meaning of trust. It doesn't mean that every blockchain should be trusted. It just that there are some blockchains that have this very attribute. And it turns out that that could be very valuable. It also brings a bunch of other attributes, such as security, which I think many of you like talk about every day anyway, but it does add security. And then, of course, there are other things that are valuable within blockchain. It brings inclusion. It means you can participate in a network and do so with some degree of trust and security. So I guess the first, let's see, maybe I need to click over here. Yeah, there you go. Maybe it's going to go on there. So the first, of course, the first implementation of a blockchain was Bitcoin. So it was introduced in 2008. I think it was 4 years after some specific other one, but it was introduced in 2008 by a guy or woman named Satoshi Nakamoto, whose true identity still remains a mystery. No one actually knows who it is, which makes up a super good story, right? This is modern fairy tale, but it's true. No one really knows who it is, and the implementation was made eventually open sourced. So this, of course, caught my interest in 2013 I think it was 2013 when I got interested in it and started to learn about it and play around with it. And I think I made all the mistakes that anyone can make within the cryptocurrency domains, but I'm not going to tell you more about that. Yes, so this is Bitcoin, but there's a lot of stuff that has happened since then. Yes, totally. And so today, for example, I think there are tens of thousands of new blockchains out there. And probably most of them will not survive. But generally speaking, to answer a more broad question, will cryptocurrencies and blockchains be part of the financial infrastructure of tomorrow? And to me, so Bitcoin has been declared dead over 100 times probably, and is probably going to die a number of times more. But still, the number of users across the world is growing every year. Today, I think it's estimated, no one really knows, obviously, but maybe they're in the vicinity of 200 million people are using it every day. And the number of transactions in the transactions of blockchains are now exceeding all the financial networks transaction volumes as it is today. So whether or not blockchains are and the new financial infrastructure is going to be here, I think personally it will be a part of the financial infrastructure in the future. And obviously that's why Dwellir is here, right? So you will hear a term called Web3. There are multiple terminologies that claims Web3 as a topic, but in the context that I'm going to speak about, it's more in broad terms. It's actually after it was discovered that you can actually do financial transaction on a blockchain, there was more inventions. Like you can actually store programmatic code on a blockchain, and then smart contract was introduced, and the development has been growing a lot. So now you can put pretty much anything on a blockchain, like content, media. You can put contracts, legal contracts. You can put pretty much anything you can imagine on a blockchain. It doesn't mean that you should, but you can. And this is the world that I'm operating in now. It's a frenetic, inventional, creative environment where there's a lot of exploring, and probably most of them will actually die, but not all of them. I'm going to give you some examples. For example, the transportation industry have found new ways to guarantee that a specific item has been transferred over the cross of the world between multiple of different systems of transportation and logistics. So it's turned out to be very valuable. Legal contracts, as I mentioned, can now be trusted across borders. IT infrastructure, trusted computing, storage, networking, even distributed artificial intelligence. And if you mix that with trust, you get a really interesting mix. Yeah, this is only a few of them. Games, obviously. And maybe I'll show you what turned out when I got here. So this is actually an NFT, which stands for non-fungible tokens. And this was on my itinerary on the airport here. So I just had to include it in the presentation. So, yeah, totally. So, yeah. So this, and also again, ChatGPT. Thanks for doing this. And okay, so now, I'm sorry, maybe I will start sounding like a salesperson now, but I'm going to give it a bit of a context so you kind of get through that. Bear with me. So this is 20 years ago. So a friend of mine told he was going to start at a weird company called Canonical. I was like, what? Yeah, they're going to pursue something that is called bug number 1. What's that? Well, the bug number 1 is that, yeah, pretty much all computers are running Windows, and we need to fix that. And there was this crazy guy called Mark Shuttleworth. He's this guy who went to space and all that. You're right. So I was like, okay, it sounds like an interesting thing. But what caught me in this was that it was based on open source. And yeah, and I was in love with open source way before that. So totally, this is something that I resonate with. I like that. So I went actually to London and met with my high school friend, and also eat pizza with Mark Shuttleworth. I think he's sitting there, but he doesn't know that. Or rather, he don't remember it, maybe. But I do. So, but this is what got me here. And I'm not sure about the state of bug number 1, but I do know that there is, that brought us here, that brought me here. So guess what? When we started Dwellir, obviously, maybe I can back up. Yeah, obviously now our company, we're about 15 people now. We're all using now a very good desktop, and there's it's good reasons for that. It's very good hardware support. People can do what they want, really. Use whatever hardware they want. The community is large. It's a super large community, so it's easy to find help, and we derive a lot from that. We like go community first, so we like always try to engage with the community, and it's just a massively good experience. And it even works in my presentation, right? So got to prove something. Totally. And yeah, it turns out that most of the technology that our clients build on, they build also on Ubuntu. So it's like a perfect fit for us. So apart from it being a fantastic desktop, it also makes sense in our communities. Yeah. The next slide hopefully will end here. Yeah. Then it's like pure numbers as well. Ubuntu is the largest operating system, or at least distribution. And I looked this up not only with ChatGPT, but also like on there's statistics coming out of AWS. So I've kind of researched that a bit. And it turns out that the Ubuntu is by far the largest deployed operating system in the largest cloud. And I felt I didn't need to do much more research about that. It's simply the largest one. That makes a lot of sense because Dwellir, our company, is kind of small, so we're just going to piggyback here. So that's and it also stretches outside of blockchains in general. And as I mentioned, blockchains are now venturing into multiple different domains, such as IoT. We can find it there. It stretches out into high-performance computing, and it's like going everywhere. So it's a brilliant thing to piggyback on. And we've also learned a lot from Ubuntu. And we figured, like, I'm a very like a copying guy. I like to copy success. But one of the things that we have copied is the way to release software. And we learned, that is something that I've learned from a lot from you guys at Canonical, to release at specific point in time. And that gives us the ability to plan a lot. So not only that we are not only copying the technology that you guys are producing at Canonical, we're copying the processes, which probably has equal amount of value to us. So thank you for that. We're going to copy that in a true open source spirit, right? Yes. Also the financial sector, of course. So Dwellir, we're active in the financial sector. So it seems like a lot of these entities has discovered that the public cloud is not the solution to everything. And they also have the notion of trust that they need to build on. So we're kind of in a good mix here. And Canonical is really strong in financial sector. So that, yeah, that's why it also makes a lot of sense to us to be there. And we have established ourselves in the context as well. And they're also learning about the privacy of stuff. So privacy is also something that the financial sector needs to manage. And yeah, so this is where you find us. And to be able to achieve all of this, we also are, like I mentioned, we're a privacy-oriented company, which means that we build all of our infrastructure also in private context. So we run our data centers like in small co-located places deliberately. And this is super challenging in the time that we live in today, right? And it's also very complex. It's not just running a computer today. Today, the world is super complex. So yeah, Ubuntu and the tools that we use from Canonical has been monumental in this respect. Okay, so I just liked this picture. So I wanted to have it in the presentation. So I'm just going to be short about this. This is my mental break about things. It's like if you're trying to build a robust internet based out of a centralized cloud, there will be issues. And this picture is also AI generated, by the way. So but it tells a story, I think. There are many values and what makes out of a robust system. And one of the things is that it's diverse and distributed. And that is why there are inherent problems of running everything in a centralized cloud. And some people believe that I hate public cloud, and that is not true at all. I love them for what they can do, but they can't do everything. And I think this is what the world is. There's a new paradigm, and I can recognize this now a lot more. And just over the few years, many of our competitors, for example, that has established themselves earlier than we did, are very centralized in public clouds. But since they have now to measure against what we are doing, and they are actually pivoting. So now we see a mix here where people are actually talking and understanding the value of having private infrastructure. And this is why I wanted to have this picture here. And it was not to shame public clouds. It was to kind of give a bit of a perspective. Okay, now we're going into more specifics. Yeah, we love LXD. So LXD basically do for us what we needed to do for us. It's super simple. And we also can derive on our current knowledge. So most of the people in our team are like know Linux. So they don't need to learn new stuff really about, for example, Kubernetes. I know everyone loves Kubernetes. So, and I also love Kubernetes, just I don't have the problem yet. So this is really great for us, and our team can stay with that. Like it's stable. So far we had 0 incident directly related to LXD. And maybe that is also attributed to that fact that it's Linux in the beneath, but still, it's super, super stable, and that matters for us because we got our software is experimental, more or less, right? So we got plenty of problems to deal with in that space. So, and yeah, security, like it's super tiny. Containers are super tiny, which also leaves a less of an attack vector. That is very helpful. And actually, we as a company or our clients are getting interested in how we can kind of do this. So we're planning to actually offer like very blockchain specialized LXD clouds to our paying clients. Yeah. More Snap packages. You hate it and you love it. So has anyone solved the NFS problem yet on Snap? So let us know. No, so just kidding. But so Snap, it is truly a love-hate relationship again with that piece of technology. It is hard. It is hard, and maybe some of it has to do with documentation. Maybe not everything, but it's fairly hard. But we suffered through it and learned it, and again, once we apply on not only the technology but also the process around Snap packages, which is kind of maybe the most valuable thing with Snaps for us, because we can piggyback again on a very robust way to deliver and release software. And when we kind of suffer through that process to get into that, that's when we start to derive the value. So maybe that is a message like that. Don't forget the process as well around the packages. And maybe that is also why there's been some bit of a controversy about the package itself. But the rewards is certainly in the end. And as you see here, like we're kind of proud we're just now trying to get up to a released Snap of Polkadot. So Polkadot is a blockchain. I'm not going to go into too much of a detail what that blockchain actually does, but it's like a multi-chain blockchain that can support a number of features and functionalities while providing the security to the whole network. This is getting complicated, I understand, but still, it's a very large project. It's super active on GitHub. I think if you look it up, I think it's like the 5th largest community on GitHub today. And Dwellir, we are super present in this, and we're gonna release this, and we're kind of scared about it at the same time because of the automatic upgrades of all of the stuff that's gonna come with it. So we kind of feel a lot of responsibility to place that kind of software into the ecosystem. So we're moving really slowly here to see that we actually can produce the quality that we want for everyone who's going to be reliant on this eventually. And yeah, and then of course my favorite project, which is Juju. So we're making massively use out of Juju, and I guess this could be a talk in itself. So, but so many people maybe don't know even what Juju is, and as long as our competitors doesn't know about it, I'm all going to be good with that. But I think there are three principal reasons. First of all, to manage a diverse flora of softwares in some sort of consistent way, when you actually can speak the same language about what's up and down, what's right and left. Juju gives us that kind of capability, and that is the reason why Dwellir can now today, we are operating over 80 different blockchain softwares, where each and every one of those are more maybe on an experimental level at best, but we still can do that on the staffing that we are, and we're quite few, right? So and we can still manage everything from data centers to cloud infrastructure to software. We do this, and I attribute this to be able to do this with Juju. So that is this is our principal problem, which Juju helps us solve. The second problem that we're most of us working with the company or software developers. We're not like infrastructure stuffing. We do know infrastructure in terms of servers and that kind of stuff, but we're primarily developers. And since Juju is all about developing, as opposed to Ansible, that is declarative. So Ansible is a perfect tool if you have a team that primarily deals with infrastructure. Probably that would be a better fit, but we're not. We're developers. And Juju aligns with all the processes that we use in software development. So we can kind of improve our infrastructure by true development, Python. And that is kind of the problem that we have. So we can now leverage all the skills developer that we have. Our developers are suddenly also becoming skilled infrastructure managers, which leverage all the knowledge and skills that we have in our company. The third thing is that we need to be efficient, right? We need to be efficient when we are dealing with the software we're doing. We are very far ahead in terms of maturity of the software. It's very experimental, some of the software, and it moves constantly. There could be easily like 3 immature releases per day, where we need to kind of manage that. And there's only one tool that can, in my view, and I've been in the industry for 20 years, there's only one tool that can do this actually. And I think I know there's a lot of Juju fans in this room, but you know, okay, I'm not going to go there. Okay, yeah, and finally, yeah, we know that you guys are large, like Canonical is large in fintech, so that's a good fit for us. Shamelessly, we are going to do our best to piggyback on that. So this is obviously one of the principal reasons I'm here. Actually, I really want to play with you guys in terms of this. It makes a lot of sense to us. We're going to do it regardless, but I've been following what you guys have been doing in terms of like reaching out to the broader financial area, because I think that we can really do something here. And it's also happening regardless of this. Like we see this happening all over. We have a lot of talks with financial institutions now, and one of maybe the reason why we haven't seen this earlier is because it's not only technology, right? There are legal frameworks that needs to work, and it's a very conservative industry, finance. It takes a lot of time, but we understand that we need to play with this team, and so we're dead set on doing so. Yeah, so totally, we're gonna piggyback as much as possible on this. And this is a number: 86% of the financial institutions are secretly, or maybe not admittedly, already engaging in these activities. Okay, so finally, like, why? Why do we do this? the short answer to this is like there are more bugs. Number one, 2/3 of the world's population don't really have access to a bank account, and that is tragic. Some of our colleagues that we work with that are employed by Dwellir cannot receive payments. This is of course a major bug. It's improved somewhat, but it's still a massive issue. And of course, yeah, there is a lack of transparency and trust in the current financial system for many reasons. So, and this is of course, it's a big problem. It's a problem worth taking on, right? Internet is also getting fragmented. Access to this infrastructure is not for sure. There is no Amazon in West or East Africa, right? There is no public cloud over there. And of course, then data privacy and integrity is for sure taking a big hit in the kind of time that we live in today. And I think those values are worth like working for. So this is our bug number one. And so this, I guess, will be the call to action, like support those kind of things. I think this is my last picture. So yeah, this is us. This is Dwellir. This is what we do, and this is why we, have a lot to thank you guys for, and we're going to continue to do this. Okay, thank you. Oh, any question? Just fire off.
Check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So Vitaly from Canonicum. So thank you for a great talk. So first of all, I agree with you that there was more than one box, and so somebody can get access. Somebody, for example, can lose access from banking system. So yeah, they definitely can fix it. So I have a question to you as an expert in two areas. So first of all, in a Juju ecosystem, and second in a blockchain. So what are your thoughts about blockchain as another type of provider or infrastructure? So in a Juju, we already have VM-based, we already have K8s-based, and it feels like blockchain is another kind of infrastructure where we can deploy smart contracts or blockchain applications. It's interesting what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so what was the question? If you can deploy
possible, so, and what are perspectives of maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so I don't think that you should use blockchain to solve all problems. That's for sure. But of course, there are stuff that you can incorporate. So one thing, for example, is that this is a really short hanging fruit, is the identity management. So I mentioned earlier, the identity management is a difficult thing, because like if you have your identity centralized somewhere, it's chances the entity that controls it also controls your identity, to be honest. I think that you don't really think about it probably, but your passport is one such thing. There is only one entity, and it's centralized. It's the government, if you like, or whatever entity in your country that is actually issuing that. But they can also withdraw it. And this is a massive problem, for example, if you don't have a government that can issue an identity thing for you. And so, and it also contains a lot of information of where you are authentic, where you are making your authentication, and what kind of data you are giving up in the process of doing so. So we have a client that are actually developing a privacy-oriented authentication mechanism. They're called Kilt, and it basically lets you have control of your identity while still having like a government making attestation of that. Yeah, this you really exist. Because I don't know. So a password is not only to admit entrance and exit from a specific country, it's also proof that you exist. And that is usually a forgotten piece of the equation. It's a proof that you exist. And that is a big thing for a lot of people. Maybe someone who is trying to like escape across a desert or something, and they're failed on that, and then you arrive at some border and you can't really prove that you exist. All right. So yeah. So now I hope I partially answered your question.
Thanks, Erik.
It's the funniest thing, by the way. Thank you for your talk. It's very, very interesting. I have 3 questions actually. So the first one will be, I think, it's easy one. I've noticed on your world map there is a Africa instead of North America. Is it on purpose or not?
Yeah, it was totally on purpose. It was an AI that generated all my picture except my own. You know, yeah. So
Okay.
I just asked it to produce something that looked fancy.
Yeah, and talking about like trust and things like privacy, have you explored the landscape of so-called post-quantum era and zero knowledge thingy? And do you see any of those addressed in existing community, let's say, solutions? Thank you.
Yeah, so totally. Within crypto itself, like cryptocurrencies and the quantum issue has already been addressed a lot of times, because you know, the people that work with these technologies are fanatics, and they also like they're mission driven as well, so they kind of foresee every possible thing that can threaten like the cryptographic integrity of, which is a security thing, which is then tied to what you're saying, the post-quantum thing. So yeah, it's being explored heavily and how that would work. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it answers your question. It's very present everywhere, but I have no like specific into it.
Yeah, it was one part of the question. Another one, do you explore the application of zero knowledge to, you know, preserve privacy and things like that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're totally in that game. We are already operating a number of ZK zero knowledge chains, and we participate in helping these guys to that operate in this space. But again, there are so many things going on also in what you're saying about zero knowledge. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Last question. You
Last
can
question.
continue
All right.
outside.
I'm gonna make it count.
Totally.
So it's more of a philosophical question, but so you mentioned a number of times trust, and I see a tension, and I'm asking, like, do you see it too, between, you know, Ubuntu, the circle of friends, community, friendship, where like, you know, personal contact that entails trust, right? So we all are working together towards some shared purpose and so on. And I used to work in the crypto space for a couple of years, and the main message that I got was that the biggest selling point of crypto is that it allows you to get stuff done without needing to trust one another. So it's about getting rid of the need of trust. It's not about, like, I'm sending you Bitcoin. I am not trusting you. You trust the chain, or maybe the technology, or the fact that it's open source means that I don't have to trust you. I can go and review the code myself and convince myself that it's going to work, that it's going to do what I expect. But so don't you see a tension between the like community trust and the kind of mathematical trust that we get in the crypto space?
I think you more or less answered the question yourself. So it is a philosophical trust. Trust is not it does not have a material there will never be an implementation of trust. Trust is a concept, and both of those things that you mentioned, you mentioned maybe like the trust in gravity. Let's trust in gravity. You know, you're always going to fall on your ass if you fall over. But it's still there is a context to everything as well, and the context that you switched into, that there is a trust of a community, but it's a different thing. It's the same word, but it's a completely different thing in this context. And when I'm saying trust, it's very hard to get, probably. Like, trust is something that you earn, and even technology earns trust. let's say, it doesn't help. It doesn't matter if you say like blockchain, you can trust blockchain. It doesn't matter because trust is a concept. And I would say, like from my own perspective, that generally I think that trust is earned, and it takes time to earn it, even for technology. So that is your philosophical answer to your question. And yeah, that's pretty much my view on it. Thank you, everyone.